can you hear us now?
Yep, I can hear you now.
Okay, then we're set to go. I just have one addition, and that is on the screen.
Okay. It's amazing the magic you can get when you have your soundbar turned on.
Yeah, there you go. So you can see the addition?
Yep, about the boat landings?
Yes.
Yep, I printed it out here too, so.
Okay, I'm going to stop sharing it then.
Okay. Okay, are we ready to rock and roll?
We are.
Okay. Good morning. Do we have everybody here?
Yep.
Okay.
Morning, Kevin.
Good morning. Okay. Let's see. First item on the agenda is to approve the agenda with additions and deletions, if there's any. And I know there's at least one addition, so.
Mr. Chair, that's correct. We have one addition, discussion on a possible action to close the county-owned Reedy Flats Landing and Loman Park to vehicles until further notice due to the health concerns associated with the COVID-19 pandemic and the potential high volume of youth associated with early Rainy River spring fishing. Including these two additional sites would provide consistency with previous board action, as both provide short distance access to the Rainy River when the Black River and Big Fork ice lets out.
I would move, Mr. Chairman, with that addition.
Okay, I've got a motion by McBride. With the
Second by Skoye.
was that a second by Skoye?
Yes.
Okay. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Everett? Wade there somewhere?
Yes.
Yes, Wade.
Wade, yes.
McBride?
Yes.
Sobrum?
Aye.
Skoye?
Aye.
Okay, and I'm an aye, so motion is approved. Approved minutes of March 31st.
Schobel moves, Mr. Chair.
Okay, I've got a motion by Showroom. Do I have a second?
Skoye, second.
A second by Skoye. Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none. All in favor?
Okay.
You're always first.
Wade, turn down.
McBride?
Aye.
Showroom?
Aye.
Skoye?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Financial business. Who wants to pay the bills?
Mr. Chair?
Yes?
Kathy, we're going to do the COVID-19 update first because Kathy and Perrin both have a meeting scheduled for 10 o'clock.
Okay. Okay, we'll switch to, which one of them wants to go first?
I can go first.
Okay, thank you, Kathy.
Well, as I'm sure you're all aware, we still just have the one positive case in Koochiching County. We are continuing to operate our emergency operational center and a departmental operations center virtually. We meet every day with the core team, and then we have other meetings weekly with county leaders and city people from all of the areas. So that's it falls in North Home, it's schools, and anybody that we need to continue to plan with. The emergency response team continues to work on our plan and update it and accomplish our goals. And As far as county operations here at Public Health and Human Services, we continue to provide the services to the community that we need to, and all of that is going quite well. Most of the workers are working from their homes, and supervisors are having at least weekly meetings with them via Zoom or video, and it is working quite well. Does anybody have any questions about what's going on over here?
Sounds like everything's going pretty good. Any questions for Kathy? Okay. Sharon, do you have something you want to add?
I really don't have much more to add on to Kathy. I mean, it's just busy, and, trying to operate business as usual. The other thing we have our eye on is the potential for spring flooding. And next week is Severe Weather Awareness Week. So we have COVID going on, but we can't forget about our other potential hazards in the county too. So while we're laser focused on COVID, we still have our eyes looking around elsewhere too. So anyone have any specific questions for me?
I got a question for you, Perrin. Was there any much activity down at the landings that we had closed?
Yeah, there's a little bit. People unloading their boats by hand and, bringing them down to the river, kind of what we expected would happen. It's going to be more interesting. I don't know. And the county board is going to have to, once the lake opens up, unless the governor takes some action, that needs to be on your radar as well. I don't believe the county has any access points on the lake, but something to be thinking about.
Maybe we need to have a discussion with the governor, huh?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the governor's thinking. My gut feeling is he's probably going to extend the stay-at-home order until May 1st. He doesn't want to lock the state down any more than he has to, and I know most of us don't want it locked down any more than it has to. I mean, we got to, there's all kinds of businesses that are affected by this. So, but that's just something to, if the governor doesn't take action, it's something for the county board to be aware of and consider, and figure out if there's anything the board can do, write letters, whatever it may be. Those are decisions by the board.
Okay. Thank you, Perrin.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
This is Brian. For talking to Sheriff Hedlund, but I know that we went into last fall with a lot of water in the watershed, and we had quite a bit of snow, but the melt went actually pretty good. So, knock on wood, I think we should be in good shape, but I'm sure that we're going to keep our eyes on water levels. And the other thing about fishing season, I talked to Rob yesterday, and the governor is going to come up with a new order here in the next few days, and I think he's going to address what we've been talking about with fishing season. So, and the landings on Rainy Lake, I think are the park and probably state. The state has not closed any landings, so that's my comment.
Brian, anybody else have any questions for Perrin?
Oh, but Perrin, this is Wayne. And Saturday afternoon, I went from west to east, and there'd been no one in Vitus, no one in Frontier. There were two little pickups parked at Nelson. There was no one at Nelson. There were two pickups parked at France Jeveny. There was no one else anywhere, but at Cutis there was one boat coming in and one boat trailer there. So that was a total of 4 vehicles from Cutis all the way to the Lake of the Woods border.
Yeah, and that's it. Commissioner Scoy, the numbers were down dramatically. We saw some peaks. We we actually worked with Land and Forestry and then the Highway Department to barricade those access points a little bit more once the snow had melted. So it seemed to work out, quite good. Obviously I fielded a few phone calls, people frustrated. I completely understand and appreciate their frustration. We're all frustrated with the situation and trying to deal with it the best we can. And, it's people need the vent. We can appreciate that fact.
I know at Vitus and Frontier, there had been no attempt to go around the barricade that we could see either.
I know on Friday I had a conversation with Lake of the Woods commissioners and DNR, and Lake of the Woods had an issue with they were trying to convince DNR to talk to the governor on closing the landings, because apparently while they had some concern over access to Wheeler's Point, they had a concern of a number of fishermen coming in there. So I know when DNR was on the line with us on Friday, he did mention that State Trooper had ticketed someone on one of our landings because he was driving around the barricade and through the dip with his boat trailer and stuff, and so he did ticket that guy for something. I'm not sure if it was disobeying an order or going through the ditch or whatever, but anyhow, I think he ended up going home. So,
Commissioner Adey.
yes.
In that conversation with Rob, I think you were in on it too, the Lake of the Woods.
Yep.
There is a kind of a hidden, I don't know what you'd call it, but something in the DNR or in the state law books that says counties can control the surface water. So there's a possibility that if the landings don't work, that we can also pass a resolution to take control of the surface water that's within our jurisdiction.
Yeah, I think the DNR did say something about that. I was a little confused over it, but I thought they weren't gonna contest it or anything. Whatever Lake of the Woods is gonna do. So
that's Commissioner. That is something that I really struggle with. I don't know if I'd want to get into something like that. That's drastic.
I think that's kind of why DNR wasn't going to contest it, and that's very worried about it. Anything else for Perrin? All right. Thank you, Perrin.
Thank you.
All right. Let's see. Okay, now financial business. Thank you, Kathy. Okay, who wants to pay the bills?
Mr. Chair, I will move on 4B, D, and E, which is the March payroll and payroll payments, courthouse claims and highway claims.
Okay, I've got a motion by Schobel. Do you have a second?
I will second.
Okay, and I've got a second by Boy. I suppose Perrin took off, didn't he? I was just thinking about, I saw there was two inmates, ambulance runs. I was wondering what Transportation.
McBride moves to adopt resolution accepting March donations.
Okay, motion by McBride. Do I have a second?
Boyle second.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Wayne. Any discussion on that? Hearing none in favor. Pavlik?
Wade, yes.
Bride?
Aye.
Noble?
Aye.
Roy?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Personnel business. Approve employment separation of E91 corrections officer. And that's for Philly. And to accept authorization also to fill the vacancy as well. That can be done in one motion, right, Ben?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay.
Boyle move.
Thank you, Wayne. So I've got a motion. Do I have a second?
Sholem second.
Thank you, Jason. I've got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Pavlik?
Wade, yes.
Bragg?
Aye.
Noble?
Aye.
Roy?
Aye.
And I'm an aye.
Mr. Chair,
Yep.
this is Jenny, and I don't think we approved the FA March summarized payment listing unless Mr. Scobum have that on his motion.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry about that. I guess we missed it. It just says review it. It doesn't say to approve it. So, sorry. Okay. Does somebody want to approve that?
I'll move, Mr. Chair. Apologize.
Okay, thank you, Jason. I've got a motion. Do I have a second? Thank you, Wayne. We've got a motion and a second. All in favor of reviewing the March summarized payment listing. Pavlik.
Wade, aye.
McBride.
Aye.
Noble.
Aye.
Roy.
Aye.
And aye. Okay. You want to do the lobbying? Boat landing, Speedy Flats, and Big Fork.
Scoy moves.
Thank you, Wayne. We've got a motion by Scoy. Do I have a second?
Second, Mr. Chair. Sholem.
Thank you, Jason. I've got a motion and a second to close Flats and Big Fork River. Boat landings. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Wade, yes.
Okay, McBride.
Aye.
Noble.
Mr. Chair, may I ask a question? I'm sorry.
Yep, that's good.
What's the timeline on the closure?
I'm guessing that would be the same as the rest of them. We review it after the 14th.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, is that right, Jen?
We're going to close them until further notice.
Okay. Okay, that's when the other ones basically are too, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you. And Scoy.
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Okay, I local bid. Okay, go ahead, Dean.
Yeah, what it is I just wanted to know if this year the possibility of purchasing the vehicle could come locally. I know it's a little bit more money, but last year we purchased 2 vehicles from Ranger Chevrolet in Hibbing, and I just thought maybe the board would consider staying in-house here this one time, and then next time we can go back out onto the state bid and do the same thing again if that's what it takes. But
How much difference is there, Dean?
I think it's about $1,900, if I remember right. And they're going to give us $4,000 for our car, and which is reasonable. I did the book value on it, and there's a little bit of room there for them to make $1 when they do sell the car within reason. And the other thing that I'm finding out is that go with a build, there's no guarantee when you're going to see the car at this point. There's going to be a backlog, and with this Corona stuff going on, everything is shut down. And if you put in an order to have a build done, they said that they would not guarantee when they would see it. And this particular car that I'm looking at with Washki is on the lot at this point in time and ready to go. And so that's the other driving force on it. If we were to go with the Washki thing, yes, it's going to be another $1,900 more, give or take. But the car is sitting there right now, or it's not in their lot. They did a dealer search, and it's out there sitting on some lot. And I mean, we could get it in our hands in timely fashion and be done with it. So, and I could completely out of line, but I just thought that maybe this one time we could a little bit give it to the local person, and then next year we could go right back out again to the state bid just to see what's well. So that was kind of my thoughts on it, and I'll certainly do whatever everybody recommends. So.
Move, Mr. Chair. This is Wade.
Okay, I got a motion by Commissioner Pavlik. Do I have a second?
Second, Mr. Chair.
Jason, any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chair. This is Commissioner McBride. I agree with the motion. Staying local, one thing. Immediate delivery makes a big difference. And just one question for Dean would be, the trade into Washki or to other departments. Is there anybody in the department that needs that car if we kept it in house, or do we trade it?
You know, I haven't checked around on that respect, Brian. We could sure shop it through the county level here and find out if there's anybody interested, and then go from there with it. That's a good idea.
Yeah, I think it would be worthwhile just to ask the departments. I mean, if anybody has a need for it, $4,000, but the car's not that bad a shape, so maybe we could keep it in house. But
I can certainly do that.
Has there been any problems with that car, Dean?
Yes, Kevin. Thank you for bringing that up. We've done some work to it. We've done some front end work to it, struts and things like that. But there's something else going on in the front end there. It's got a squeak to it every time you when you go to turn the wheels left or right, and when you start to move with it, there's something. It sounds like a dry shock or something like that. I'm not sure what it is. I can't pinpoint it, but we did spend some money going through the front end on the thing here last summer. And currently, right now, before we can do anything with the car, I've got to get a new windshield in it. This winter, there was a little rock chip in it, and it completely broke out in a big spider this spring. So I've got to get that repaired before we can do anything with the car at this point, and it's supposed to actually take place this week. The window should be here this week, and it should be going in here shortly. Outside of that, the car is a nice car, good shape, runs well. That's the other thing. We had something wrong with the starting of it this winter. It wouldn't start start, and it had to get picked up and hauled away, and there was some kind of a switching mechanism within it that it wouldn't start the car. All it did was roll it over, but it wouldn't fire it. So, but anyway, that's done. The interior is in great condition. The tires are reasonable on it. There's no dents, bangs, scratches, or any of that kind of thing going with it. So, yeah, it's a good car.
Hey, do we have full glass on the insurance, or is there a deductible on that?
I checked with Betsy on that, and when it comes to government, we're not full glass. I think she said there's $1,000 deductible on it. Whereas our vehicles, typically our own personal vehicles with insurance companies, comes full glass. But in this case, through MCIT, that's not it. We would have to pay. There's a deductible there anyway. I don't know if it's $500 or $1,000, one of the two.
Okay. It'll probably almost cover the cost of the glass anyhow, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I've got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, Pavlik?
I think if Dean put it in his next audit, we'd probably get more money for it, but I'll vote yes.
McBride?
Aye.
Noble?
Aye.
Boy?
Aye.
And aye. Okay. Environmental service business.
Good morning.
Not there somewhere?
Yeah, good morning. Do you hear me?
Okay, yep, I hear ya. There you are.
This is our sewer project. We're getting into construction season to finish up the project. This is an amendment to SEH's contract for inspection and engineering services, construction administration activities. This is necessary due to the contractors not completing the work last fall. We had various reasons why that happened. This contract would be extended through the end of June 2020 and add an additional $58,000 to their contract. We're going to try to manage it so that we can, hopefully we can have the contractors finish in a reasonable amount of time so that we have as little inspection as possible necessary anyways. But we got to have the inspectors. We have to have our engineering firm finish up the project. CH's existing contract includes project closeout services, which will be included in the services through the final payment, and providing ongoing assistance to the county during the period following the project's final completion, and extending through the contractor's 24-month warranty period. I would recommend that we move forward with the contract, although, I am not excited about another $58,000, but I think we have to have our engineers finished up the project here.
Questions on the board?
Well, Mr. Chair, first of all, one of the things, Matt, I don't know if any of you have been out to the transfer station, but he's out there a lot, taking tickets, explaining to people what's going on, what they can do and can't do, why our hours of operation have changed, etc. And he puts a lot of time and effort into it, and we should all be thankful we have him for department head. So I'm completely comfortable with what he's proposing here, and so I'll move it. Second by McBride.
Thank you, Wade and Brian. Got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chair, this is Brian.
Yep.
Matt, in a deal like this, I don't know how long, it's like through June. Have we ever thought about contracting an hourly rate with SEH rather than this is flat $58,000?
So it is an hourly contract. It's a great question. Their proposal is based on hourly work for their both the inspection and the engineering. So they estimated how many hours over the next couple months or over the couple months of construction services that they would need. So it is an hourly rate. So if they spend less hours, obviously we'd be charged less. But they just estimated it based on trying to come up with enough inspection services to make sure we finish out the project. And assuming that we'll be able to get the contractors to finish up. If we have 11 inches of rain, I'm sure that'll change things.
Thanks, Matt. But I'll guarantee you it's going to come out to 58,000 or more.
We'll do our best. I'll have that conversation with SEH for sure. I've had that conversation over and over again with them about, hey, let's not spend engineering services on things that we don't necessarily need. So let's be conservative. And I think they have that, have been in certain situations where we've been able to save some inspection services. We've done that. But on the other hand, they're scheduling out their inspectors, and we want an experienced inspector finishing up the project. And so having this commitment in place, hopefully gets us the inspector that finished out last year. When Dan retired.
Thanks, Matt. I'm not questioning your decisions or anything. Sometimes with engineers, you really got to watch them.
No problem, Brian. And I appreciate that, and I take that seriously.
Any further questions for Matt? All right, I've got a motion and a second. All in favor? Pavlik?
I have never seen them come in under estimate. We'll see.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, Mr. Chair.
McBride?
Aye.
Bobo?
Aye.
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 And it is an aye.
Guys, I just wanted to add one more thing. Wade, you had mentioned the transfer station. Would it be appropriate for me to add a few comments about the operations at the transfer station? Would that be all right?
Please do, Matt.
Absolutely.
We're continuing our operations at the transfer station Monday, Wednesday, Friday, open to the public 9 to noon. One of the things that we implemented was to control the traffic at the gate, and so I've been out at the gate managing traffic and taking tickets, and of course, like Commissioner Pavlik had mentioned, educating the public and trying to explain to them why we're doing what we're doing. And so that's been going fairly well. We started out, when we started that, at first we were, probably in the 70, 75 customers and each of those days. And we're getting up to 90, 95 now. And I expect that will continue to increase. And so we'll see how that management of the traffic at the transfer station goes. We've been trying to encourage people to bring less waste, bring more waste at one time. So instead of bringing one bag, we're trying to get them to use a full ticket. We did implement, pulling the red tickets, or at least no longer putting any more in circulation. And so there has been some discussion with the public at the line about that. So we'll continue with that educational process. One other thing that we have going, the MPCA is putting on best practices for safety for solid waste industry webinar on Wednesday. I sent that to the board if you guys wanted to join, but it's just to talk about what the MPCA thinks about best practices and safety in managing solid waste. So just another thing that's coming up, and we'll hopefully learn some more information from that. So
that's tomorrow afternoon, right, Matt?
That's correct. It's 3:00 tomorrow afternoon, and I think it'll be be worthwhile for us to listen in for sure. And by the way, the guys at the transfer station are doing a great job Greg and Ryan, you know, and Wayne and Steve filling in from time to time. Teddy's off right now, but in any case, they've all been doing a great job and really working hard to try to keep the flows of waste coming in and out of the transfer station. So.
Any more questions or comments from that?
Commissioner Eady. Matt, you know, you guys are doing a great job out there. You know, and I talked to you yesterday out in the street when you drove by, and you know, one of the things that struck me, and you said there's people pulling up with one bag, you know, and they said, well, that's all I generate in a week or two, maybe even longer than that. You know, if people know they got a neighbor, an elderly neighbor, or somebody living alone, and you know, a phone call over and say, hey, you know, if you got one bag of garbage and that's all you generate, and throw it in my can. You know, if we could get that out publicly to help these people out, then it also helps the transfer station. So if you know people that are living alone, you know, give them a call and tell them, throw their garbage in mine. It just
Thank you, Brian.
time and go ahead.
Good idea, Brian. Any other questions? All right, thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
Is there anybody here or online for public comment at all? I see Dave was sitting there. I don't know if he's still there.
This is Steve Nelson. I have a comment that I would like to make on the record, if it's okay.
Okay.
On March 3rd, we sent a letter. I sent a letter to the county board, including the commissioners, on behalf of USA Incorporated, and what they are requesting is some refund on the retainage that is presently held by the county. Apparently, the county is holding about a $400,000 retainage on their contract. There's an estimated $66,000 worth of work left to complete, even at 250% of the balance of the contract. That retainage should be no more than $165,000, which leaves $235,000 that's being held that they frankly could use and need. So my letter spells this out in greater detail. I had called relative to to getting on the agenda last week. I didn't see that I was on the agenda, but the letter definitely describes in detail what our claim is and what our requests were. So my question is whether or not you are going to be able to address this. If you're not in agreement on refunding some of this retainage, then we would like to have a hearing set so that we can discuss it in detail before we take any further action on it.
Can we get that on the agenda for next week, then?
I think that would, they're waiting for, we have to talk to the county attorney, Jeff Nagloski. I think he's in the process of drafting a response to that letter.
Okay.
Yeah, I've spoken with Mr. Nagloski on more than one occasion, and I spoke to him later last week, and I believe that he was waiting for some guidance from the county board. I don't know whether that's occurred or not, but now's the time to do it if we can do it.
I would just say that we're working with Jeff, and I think that Jeff will be responding accordingly in the near future here, Steve.
Well, can we leave it on the agenda for next week then? Just the same, because time is of the essence on this matter, and we would like to get this money released.
And this is Jeff Nagloski. I think it probably does make sense to add this to the agenda. I've spoken to Matt a number of times. I know Wade, you've been in on some of those, Commissioner McBride, you've been in on some of those conversations with some of the issues we've had with USA. I think at this point we're too far apart, and there are a number of concerns. I guess I would disagree with Mr. Nelson's estimate of exactly what still remains out there to be done. And I'll continue those conversations with Mr. Nelson and Director Gwynn, but I don't think it is a bad idea to add it to the next board agenda because we are quite simply way, way too far apart.
Yeah. We able to do that?
I'm not surprised that I don't agree with Mr. Neglovsky, nor that he agrees with me.
It's kind of how we make our living.
But I do know, Jeff, that there's some place in the middle that's going to be a reasonable position.
Okay, I hope we can find that.
Okay. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yes?
Jen, there's another issue coming up, and that is that property tax relief and guidance. And then along with this issue, could we schedule sometime this week a quick management committee meeting, and maybe Jeff could sit in on these issues, and then we come up with some kind of discussion for the county board next week?
Yes, Commissioner, I can schedule that.
Okay. Anybody else for public comment, or is there anything else come before the board?
I think we've all had enough.
I think so too.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair. This is Jeff Neglovsky. I had my phone on mute while I was listening in earlier, and when Sheriff Hedlund was on the phone and there was the discussion about the state trooper having written one ticket, and Mr. Chair, I heard you kind of inquire, well, I wonder what the person was cited for. It was actually a right-of-way use violation. It's a misdemeanor under statute 160. It's basically the misuse of the right-of-way and the damage that the trailer and truck were causing to the slope and the drainage. I was in contact with the state trooper while the issue was ongoing so that we could cite it correctly. So, to answer the board's question there.
Thanks for that information, Jeff. That's good. So,
I say, Jeff and Mr. Chair, what I saw was one day when I went across there were a certain number of pickups lined up on the side of the state highway, and they had one at the bottom, and they had a tow strap onto that, and one was up on the tar, and they would lower one down and would drop its boat off, and then they'd pull it back up, and then they would do that. And I think there were 5 or 6 pickups parked there. And I'm assuming that is, from what I heard from the highway department, that the trooper apparently lives in there someplace too. And so he was going to kind of put an end to it. I know the next 2 times I was up there, we did not see any people driving their pickups down the big steep bank to the river. So.
Okay. Yeah, and that sounds like what I heard from the trooper, that they were just basically not using any landings, but just going down the slope of the ditch in the right of way into the river, but that it was tearing things up pretty good. So that's how the trooper got involved, and that's how I got involved.
all right. Well, thank you again.
You bet.
Anything else to come before the board?
I'll move to adjourn, Mr. Chair. This is Reed.
All right, I've got a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second, Mr. Chair. So
Thank you.